Hello everyone. Today I'm at Linganore United Methodist Church in Maryland. I'm here to explore the cemetery, walk around. Now this church, it reminds me of a church you would see in the United Kingdom. It's out here in the farmlands. There's hills and there's a windy road in front of the church that goes around, and it just reminds me of something you would see in the United Kingdom. More specifically, this actually reminds me of a church that is in Nottinghamshire, England. So I've never walked around this cemetery before, so I'm going to explore a little bit and see any interesting graves that I can find. So right here you can see the architecture on this grave. Now, this grave has had that piece fall off the top right here. I believe this grave is from 1914. I have to look through the camera to see, because it always comes through on the camera really good. On these old graves, the dates always come through really good. But with your own eyes, you can't really tell too well. But this piece has come off the grave. It looks like the Virgin Mary carrying a cross, or with her arm wrapped around a cross. Also her her right arm, if it's standing up straight, that's the right arm is missing right there. It's nowhere to be seen around here. It looks like it's been off for a while though, with the growth of the algae on that stone. Here's another grave similar to what we just saw, except the top piece is still on this grave here. You can always tell a time period a gravestone is from based on its architecture. For example, these graves right here are from the late 1800s, early 1900s. But these graves remind me of the grave of Dr. Samuel Mudd. Now, Dr. Samuel Mudd was the doctor who set John Wilkes Booth's broken leg after he fled from Washington, D.C. after assassinating President Abraham Lincoln in April of 1865. Samuel Mudd, Dr. Mudd, he's buried in Bryanstown, Maryland, just outside of Waldorf, Maryland, but his grave looks very similar to these graves right here. Now this is a very interesting grave right here. It appears to be stone at first, but when you look at it closer, it's actually metal that is painted to look like stone. And you can see right here a piece actually chipped off of it. If you look closely, you can see the metal. It's like a metal. And the piece that chipped off of it is actually right here on the side. But this is an interesting grave. I've never seen anything quite like this before. It is from the year 1901. There is another burial here from the 1940s, but they have different head markers, and the head marker from 1901 looks more like the grave as a whole, so I'm going to say that this grave was placed here in 1901. Sometimes people don't always put the grave in place till both of them are buried. This one appears to be original to 1901. So, unique grave here. I've never seen anything quite like this before. Now, this cemetery definitely has a lot of different types of graves in terms of architecture. One grave I like to see are graves with people's pictures on them. I think it's just because you can put a face to the name. You know, you have to remember that everyone who's buried here, everyone lived a life. You know, and you wonder, Where did these people go? What did they do in their lives? How they spend their lives? What success did they have in their lives? What failures did they have in their lives? What moments did they have in their lives? You know, it really makes you realize that all these stones represent someone who was once walking among us. And it makes you realize that eventually all of us will be nothing more than a name. I think that's one reason why I like walking through these cemeteries so much, is because it gives me a chance to reflect and kind of, even though I didn't know anyone buried here, still say, I'll remember you, you know? I'll read your grave. I'll know your name, you know? And that's kind of something I like to do when walking around cemeteries, is just acknowledge each person for the life they lived, even if I didn't know anything about them. One thing about the cemetery that attracted me was the view. I really like the view here. And I enjoyed walking around this cemetery. Now, there are a lot of people that go to cemeteries to film and document the graves of famous and notable people. I'm kind of opposite. I do film the graves of famous and notable people when I'm in a cemetery that has famous and notable people, but I also love to just film cemeteries as a whole. So even though this cemetery doesn't have anyone in the cemetery who is known to be famous, you know, I still like to walk around and just explore the cemetery and read the names on the graves and the dates on the graves and just think and reflect. So this cemetery was a nice walk today. Thanks for coming along with me, guys. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, this is Fixed Image saying peace.